Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'm going to be doing another American Horror Story Season 8 Apocalypse episode recap and review. This week's episode is number 8 in the season and it is called Sojourn. I did want to say at this point that I've done videos like this every single week for the whole season so far, so I'll make sure I link that playlist up and down below in case you want to check any of those previous videos out. Also, when I do these videos, I did want to explain that I do begin with a recap, and then at the end of the video I get more into my review and theories. So for now, I'll be starting with the recap. Alright, so this episode began directly after last week, with Michael finding Ms. Mead after she was burnt at the stake, and he's obviously very distraught. Cordelia does walk up behind him and says that she knows who he is and that his plan has failed. She does say that she had sent Ms. Mead's soul to a place where he wasn't able to find it. She had hidden her soul away so that Michael wasn't able to retrieve her or bring her back to life. Cordelia also said to him that he didn't need to follow in his father's path and that she saw humanity in him. She said that he could join her or the witches if he wished to. However, he did turn her offer down. He said he was going to find a way to bring Ms. Mead back and that he was going to destroy all of the witches. From there, Michael disappeared into the woods. He went out there to try and summon his father in order to get some instructions on what to do next. And he waited for 4 days without hearing anything. He was visited by angels or saw visions of them trying to get him to convert, or maybe he was just really dehydrated. Also, a black goat appeared and he immediately killed it. So I don't know if that was meant to be just kind of symbolism for his father, or this episode was a little bit random. After this, he wandered over to a satanic church where Sarah Bernhardt was the leader, and she was great in this episode. I thought she was really funny. One of the lines she said as she was speaking to the congregation about what sins they had done for the week, she said something along the lines of, "I've seen bad facelifts that are more evil than you." So she was really great to see in this episode. I thought she was very funny and just brought an entertaining character into the mix. During Black Mass, Michael met a woman who he was sitting next to. I think her name was Madeline, and she invited him to her house just so he could get a bit of food since she noticed he hadn't eaten in a long time. He just seemed very hungry and out of it. Once they were at her house, she started to tell Michael how she sold her soul in order to get a good life, just of material possessions and I guess sleeping with a couple celebrities. She also said that she believed soon the Antichrist would rise. To this he said that it was him, and she actually went to kill him because she was angry that he said this, or she thought he was lying. He did show her the mark behind his ear, which was 666, just kind of cut into his ear, or I can't remember how it came about. I do remember seeing it in Return to Murder House, but he just showed that to her. She believed him and basically started praising him. Then, back at the church, the congregation was preparing to sacrifice a man and a woman. They said that they were just very good people who were doing good deeds, and that's why they were going to kill them. And someone was about to do this. He was just a random member of the congregation they were going to allow to do this. But then they were interrupted by Michael and also Madeline, who was there just to say that Michael really was the Antichrist. And again, he showed off the mark behind his ear. After this, the leader of the group allowed him to sacrifice the people. Later on at a potluck dinner, everyone was just fawning over Michael, and surprisingly enough, he was very humble. He just sort of asked them to stop. And speaking with Madeline, he said he had no idea on how to bring upon the end and that he felt very lost and alone without Ms. Mead. He said that she was dead and that he couldn't bring her back, but Madeline did say there was a way around this. And then from there, she did drive him to a location to meet some people who were able to help him. She was driving Michael to meet 2 people who he had seen in the trailer, Evan Peters and Billy Eichner. They are 2 engineers just working in a lab, building robots or androids and also doing a whole bunch of coke. Also, it was surprising to see that Venable was their receptionist. When it first showed her, I thought, oh, Sarah Paulson is playing another character, but I only thought this just because obviously her styling was different to after the apocalypse, but it is clear it was Venable. They addressed her as this, and her hair was kind of similar, although I think it was red as opposed to brown or dark blonde, like at the start of the season. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I did like her style. Her outfit was very put together, she was very stylish and glam. Also, she had full purple going on, and someone made a comment that purple is her thing, so I guess this kind of links up to purples in the hierarchy of the cooperative. I just thought that was something interesting to take away. Along with the fact that Evan Peters' character was listening to music they played in the bunker, but I'll talk more about that at the end. Venable had gone in to see the men to deliver more cocaine tell them that a man was there to meet them, obviously Michael, and she also said something about successfully sending a package of dog poo to Mark Zuckerberg. So again, this episode was very random and silly, but I really liked that. Now when Michael went in to meet the two engineers, they were saying hello and meeting each other, but the two men were goofing off a little bit. They said they thought he'd be ripped, they thought he would have a different name, and all sorts of things like that. So they were just goofing off and not making a great first impression. Michael did start to leave, but he stayed after they protested, and he did show them the mark behind his ear as well. And I thought it was quite funny when one of them said, "That's cool, but that's just a tattoo on your scalp." And fair enough, I kind of thought the same thing. I mean, obviously we know he's the Antichrist, but I'm surprised at the reaction that everyone gave him when he showed this off, since I don't think he really even showed powers to anyone else yet. However, to the men he did show them a few powers beyond just showing them the mark, I guess because they doubted him. He ended up killing the woman that was with them in the lab, not Venable, just another woman that was there, and he burnt her up kind of like he did with the ghosts in previous episodes, but he was obviously killing her this way. And then they all went to lunch where the engineers spoke to Michael about how their lives changed when they joined Satanism, how they also sold their souls and were reaping the benefits. They also said the same thing that Madeline did about how they had a schedule to sleep with Ryan Reynolds. Funnily enough, at the start of the episode when she said this, I thought, okay, she's crazy, she's just saying all these random things she got, but when they said it too, I'm realizing, okay, that is a perk that they're actually getting, and I just thought it was quite funny. Again, this episode was very silly and kind of random, but very similar to, say, Scream Queens, which I also personally liked. They also happened to get onto the subject of Ms. Mead, and they said they were able to bring her back. So then in the lab it showed her all constructed, I'm guessing after some time. They warned Michael that he needed to be slow, sort of introducing himself and preparing her. But when she woke up, she remembered him right away and she said that she missed him. And that's the end of the episode. So this one was a really short one. It was less than 40 minutes long. A fair bit happened in the episode, but it felt like it passed very quickly. So there were only a few scenes and it was all revolving around Michael and his story moving forward. Just like last week was all about the witches, this one we got to see what Michael was up to, and I feel like it's brought us very close to the apocalypse and the start of the season. I guess many people feel like questions are still needing to be wrapped up and answered, but surprisingly enough, as random as this episode was, I feel like it did that a great deal, or at the very least, getting us close to the end. Very quickly first, I guess I'll address some highlights. So I thought it was again great to see vulnerable Michael. He really does have a range, and Cordelia's right, he does have some humanity left in him. He was obviously very close with Ms. Mead. She was like family to him, the closest person he ever had. And then after she was gone, he was distraught to say the least, and you could really see that. But also his interaction with the Church of Satan, he was very humble, as I said before, and he just kind of didn't want a fuss to be made, and he was very appreciative of getting help from Madeline. So I do think that's really good they're showing that, because at the end of the day, yes, he's the Antichrist, but he is still really a teenager, despite all of the horrible things that he has done. It's very interesting that they're still showing that side of him, rather than just going one-sided with him being pure evil and wanting to bring upon the end of the world. He's not really like that at this stage anyway. Also, you've probably gotten a sense that I'd be saying this anyway, but one big highlight of the episode, I've got to say, really funny. I laughed a lot during it. I really enjoyed it, even though I guess in hindsight they probably should have gone more of the scary path and done something really good for Halloween. But ignoring that, I feel like in the course of the season it was a very funny and almost light-hearted episode, all the while wrapping up a few questions as well. So now after this episode we've been reintroduced to Venable, and that's very interesting to see and wonder how she will end up in the bunker, along with the two men in the lab who of course we know built Ms. Mead, but I do wonder as well if they have a greater part to play in the cooperative. Obviously one of them was playing the music that we heard in the bunker, and I feel like obviously they're very rich men, they'd be very powerful, so I feel like they are definitely involved in the cooperative. Now this is of course how Venable got involved, but she never actually saw Michael, so I'm sure he could have been puppeteering behind the scenes. And of course, even though it was only a little thing, we know that purple is her thing. She liked purple, so I feel like that's why the higher up people would be known as purples, if we're assuming she was part of that decision-making process. all those little things were kind of throwing back to the bunker episodes of Apocalypse. Now, talking about the cooperative there reminds me of a theory that I did read, and this isn't something that I initially thought of myself, and I still really don't believe it, but I wanted to share. I did see a lot of people assume that because it's the same actors, that the two engineers were also Brock and Gallant, that somehow they were plants in this whole scheme. And I don't really know how to feel about that, just because I guess the characters were very different, and you know, all the time we see the actors play multiple characters and they're not the same people. Although I guess that would be something to mix it up a little bit. I just feel like that would be a fair bit of backstory to go into, of having them infiltrate both Coco's life, and I'm not really sure why Michael would set that up, just to get her to the bunker, because Brock had no part to play there. Granted, Gallant did end up in the bunker, but he was killed off, so I personally don't believe that. In any case, whether they are or aren't, there are 2 episodes left, and of course it needs to get us caught up with the apocalypse, whether they, you know, stop it from happening, reverse it, or if it does come to pass, because at the end of the day, this is American Horror Story, and oftentimes it's not got a super happy ending, so maybe they won't stop the apocalypse. I know a lot of people are expecting it they will, and I kind of think that too, but you know, this is American Horror Story after all, so I guess anything could happen. But obviously after this episode there are 2 left, and there's a few things that really hopefully will happen soon. So setting up the apocalypse and maybe showing behind the scenes of Michael's plan, just what he wants to achieve here. Ending the world, of course, but why are the outposts there? Why has he set that up? It would also be nice to see confirmation as well, or how they form the cooperative, because at this stage I feel like it's the Satanists, or at the very least the people in that special group that Madeline took Michael to, so it was the engineers, and also I'm assuming other people in that network of people that would probably go on to be the cooperative. And then of course, really importantly, we do need to see the witch's plan to overthrow Michael. So Cordelia knows that he's still alive, she hasn't tried to kill him, she's just killed off his allies. And I do hope that it shows her sort of keeping an eye, because he set up this plan, or we know that he will set up this plan to bring on the apocalypse. What will she do to stop it? I guess one thing to think about with the episode titles is next week is called Fire and Rain, so from that I would assume apocalypse, whether they set it up, whether it's the plan beforehand and they don't get too deep into it or not, but that's just what I'm hoping for. In saying that though, I haven't seen the promo for next week, so I guess I'll just have to double check on that. Maybe I'm wrong. And then of course the last episode is Apocalypse Then. So that makes me wonder, will the last episode be an alternate timeline showing how things would be after the apocalypse that was prevented? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but only 2 to go unless they surprise us with more episodes. I feel like it's not likely, but I don't know. I feel like in 2 episodes they could definitely wrap it up. A lot of things have come up quickly in the past few episodes, so hopefully they do the same in the coming weeks as well. But now I will be leaving this video here for today. I did want to thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please give me a thumbs up if you did, and share all of your comments down below as always. I do want to chat to you about the episode. Let me know if you liked this one or if you hated it, because I know everyone's kind of on either side of the fence with this one, and let me know what you think will happen in the next 2 episodes. It's crazy, it's very nearly done, and I guess what could be happening is anyone's guess at this point. But as I said, I will be leaving this one here today. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Bye!